What's the morale of the soldiers like? Is there still an optimism? Is there still a hope?
I mean, there's sort of the battle fatigue, and as they say, like, all the heroes die early, the guys the real heroes that are willing to sacrifice themselves, they're the ones that are going to get taken out quick. Unfortunately, that's the reality from over there, but their thoughts are mostly that it's going to be a prolonged war. Like when I ask them about how fast the front line moves, they're like, oh, it could take 6 months to move 200 meters.
Yeah.
So it just feels like it's going to go on forever. And from the Ukrainian side's perspective, those guys talk to me about how when they hear radio intercepts of Russian soldiers marching to the same front line spot, is that basically they're marching into certain death at certain locations. And based on the radio transmissions, they know they're going to die, but they head forth anyway, straight forward into a Ukrainian position, which is just wild to me. I guess like World War II, they just keep throwing troops at it. And you see a ton of footage they take themselves, which is just mind-blowing. Obviously, some of this footage doesn't make it to the internet because it's got important sort of details in those conflicts, but like they're showing first-person perspectives of trench warfare. It's just crazy to see what some of these guys have gone through.
So I went to a lot of the same places as well, including Kherson. What was your sense of the place?
Kherson was like, it was just so destroyed. I think at this point, most of the civilians are gone. I saw a lot of just elderly people left behind, especially a lot of old men. And I just think they're just like, hey, I've lived here my whole life. I'm just never leaving. Mm-hmm. So no matter the level of danger, those guys just remain. And then it's largely just, I guess, military in Kherson. But that place felt very, very dangerous. I didn't realize until we got there just quite how destroyed it is.
How did that experience change you? Just seeing war head on.
How did it change me? I guess just realizing a lot of these soldiers are just like, you kind of distance yourself from them thinking that they're something separate. But really speaking to a lot of the Ukrainian soldiers, like my friend Roman, he hadn't lived in Ukraine for 8 years. He lived in France. He had a life. He's got a wife over there. He's got a daughter. He basically volunteered to come back to protect his mum and brother who still lived there. So it's like I used to view them military guys because in Australia and I guess in the US, they don't have this conscription ongoing right now. You know what I mean? Like, whereas obviously there's guys like Roman who volunteered, but then there's a lot of Ukrainian soldiers that were conscripted into the war. So it's like you just realize how a lot of these guys are everyday people. They're just in this crazy situation, like where Roman felt obligated to return to Ukraine. Like from my perspective, anyone in it from Australia or US, it's just a different perspective on like those. They feel different to the regular people fighting in Ukraine, from my perspective.
Yeah, it's defending the land that is your home.
Yeah, like Japan was coming for Australia, I guess in World War II. They attacked the north, but really there was no foot battle and there was no soldiers on the ground within Australia. I guess US too during World War II. So it's like a completely different perspective from our recent histories compared to like if you were a Ukrainian and there's Russians within the defined border, their responsibility to protect their homeland and their family is just something you can't imagine. But also after having spent time with them, you can see why they feel such a strong sense of obligation to protect Ukraine, protect their family and friends.
And in a lot of cases, the soldiers are using their own funds to buy equipment, whether it's bullets, whether it's guns, whether it's armor. Is that still what you saw?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the weapons, America provides weapons. So we saw a wide selection of weapons. Some of those would be old Soviet weapons, like obviously the RPG we shot and what we shot out of it is all Soviet. It's very old weaponry. And then you've got US weapons that have been given as well. But in terms of the basic soldiers' equipment, like if they want good quality stuff that might be the difference between them surviving the winter or the summer, just in the extreme temperature range, like they have to pay for that all themselves. So they always joke about when foreign soldiers come over to train them, or a lot of foreign soldiers come to learn about sort of the drone technology they've developed on a budget. is they always joke with them about how like everything from most countries is basically supplied. All the good quality standard equipment they'd need is just supplied by the government. But in Ukraine, obviously, funding is very stretched. So these guys, to have the best equipment, they have to basically find money to pay for it themselves. And they'll do that by seeking donations. Best way to get donations will be to grow social media profiles. So that's when you see a lot of sort of social media warfare from a perspective of gaining fame to secure donations for their battalion to be able to fight better or protect themselves. And also some of the social media warfare, I guess, is psychological warfare against the enemy.
Yeah.
You'll see like private Telegram groups where they're showing what they've done to the enemy, what the enemy's done to them. It's just crazy.
Yeah, there's Telegram groups on both sides. And it's basically, some of it is propaganda, some of it is psychological warfare, some of it is just the human nature of being like, of increasing your own morale and the morale of the people around you by showing off successfully killing other human beings, which are made other in war. And the nature of this war has evolved. So drones have become more and more prevalent.